want to welcome in Coach John Calipari from the University of Kentucky into another edition of the Boardroom. And Coach, it's such an honor to have you. Really appreciate you taking the time. And one of the things that I'm really excited to talk about today is your initiative with these coaches and how you're going to impact HBCs and young kids. And I was hoping you could just take us through the process.
Thanks, Jordan. Thanks for having me. And I appreciate the fact you're giving me an opportunity to talk about the McLendon Minority Leadership Initiative. And the genesis of it was as everything was happening in the country. When George Floyd's, I want to say, murder in Minnesota, we all had to step back and listen. And then after listening, my wife was the one that said, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to act? Speaking that you're mad, that's one thing. And she made a point. She said, because of the trust that the African-American families have had in us, that's why we've had success. So now how do we return what they've done? And so as we sat back, you're like, well, where do I have influence? At the University of Kentucky, my own staff is diverse, from my personal assistant to trainers to, I mean, we're diverse. And we've been diverse for 20 years. But then you extend that to the athletic department, and you look at athletic departments in general are not diverse. Now, we don't have a problem on the fields, on the courts, but the administration, it's not as diverse. So what we said at Kentucky, I will invest in 5 or 6 minority leaders a year, and we'll pay them. We'll give them a stipend. They can take it from my salary. They can do whatever they want, but I want to do it for 4 or 5 years because I don't want it to be optics. I want us to really do this. From that, I was working with G3 Marketing on things, and they said, why don't you try to scale that? Why don't you get other coaches to get involved? And so I called friends. I got Tommy Amaker to help me organize so that we could go in 2 different directions. Tommy coaches at Harvard. And all of a sudden, we have 85 coaches. Nick Saban, I mean, football, baseball, women's basketball, Geno, Auriemma, that have said, we're in on this. And so now all of a sudden it's like, okay, how do we do this? So we had ProLink Staffing presented us with, hey, we'll do this pro bono. We'll help you staff. We'll take the applications. No coach has time for this. We didn't, but we would fund the positions as coaches. ProLink Staffing would help us then select the candidates, or at least get finalists for each job on a campus. And then the last piece was, well, how do we do this funding? And we went to the John Mcclendon Fund, which is in NACDA, which is the Athletic Directors Association. And John Mcclendon, and I would tell anybody out there, Google John Mcclendon, learn what you can about him, because he was an icon. He was a pioneer. He was he learned from James Naismith, one of the first Black coaches in the Hall of Fame and everything else. So we housed it under his fund, and we're there. So now we're going to end up filling 20 to 25 positions this year. A lot of coaches and schools wanted to wait because of the pandemic and what we're all going through. But I would predict we'll have 80 to 100 jobs next year, and then from there it'll just grow. So I'm excited. I think it's about access and opportunity. It's about proving who you are and what you are. I think we're going to find stars out of this. But it's access and opportunity. There's no guarantee. There's no guaranteed job. This is more than an intern, because you're going to have a $2,500 a month stipend. So you
but
can.
Some of these coaches, some of these people you're going to help are going to be very young without a lot of experience. Some are going to be older with some experience. So everyone's going to be under the same umbrella with the same opportunity.
Yeah, and I like what you said. You talk about white privilege, and sometimes it makes people uncomfortable. And I've said, for me, white privilege played a part in my success. It doesn't matter how much money. My friends got mad, Jordan, and said, I know how you grew up. I knew you didn't. You had one pair of shoes. What are you talking about? You had a privilege. The privilege was I was white. So now some of the jobs that I was able to get early on in my career, if I were black, I don't think I could have got them. And that's just a fact. It's not me feeling guilty. I worked hard for what has happened, but I know I had an advantage. And so this program is to say, those of you that never think you can rub shoulders with these people or those people or these wealthy people or these donors, you have a chance. Here it is. Apply. Now, for 20-some positions, there have been over 500 applications. So it's going to be hard to get the jobs. But if you get those jobs, you're going to have an opportunity to show who you are, what you stand for. And that's all this is. I'm hoping businesses jump in, and I'm going to use the term, poach this program and take candidates from this program and say, why athletics? Why not our business? Why not come with us? We want to have mentors within athletics, including me as a coach, and the other coaches will also mentor, and have a biweekly breakfast in the town that you're in with business people, so that these future leaders can meet people that they wouldn't have access to, that they wouldn't have an opportunity to meet. And then those people go like, wait a minute, why isn't she working for me? And that's,
so you want them to get poached.
Yes, I do.
Wow.
In the end, who knows? Maybe there's a CEO in this bunch. Maybe there's a leader in a different field. Maybe there's a politician, a senator. How about a president that comes through this program that would have never had an opportunity, never had access to something like this? Well, here it is. They're 1- and 2-year programs. Most schools will go 1 year, some will go 2. I think many will be hired at the school that they train.
You start, I'm curious, Coach, you mentioned something earlier that stuck out already, which is that all these young families, these young men have trusted you. Black communities have trusted you in the program. Have you had former players or current players, especially those of color, reach out to you about this yet?
Yeah, I think they're all happy and proud that we're doing it. And just so you know how I stay in touch, and it's a little easier with the pro players, but even if they're not pros, but the guys that are in the league, every morning I get a sheet on my desk that says, who played last night? Did they win? How did they play? There may be a list of 35 players on there. Yeah, and it might be 10 one night, 30 one night, 35 one night, 4 one night. But it gives me a chance to respond, and proud of what our guys are doing. And again, my job is to set a foundation for them, which is a springboard to what they want to do next. I'll be honest, that's all we're trying to do with the Minority Leadership Initiative. And if anybody out there, it's minorityleaders.org to apply, to be involved, to get your school involved. But it's the same idea. It's a springboard. And then what I want to see is the success of the people. And I'm going to be more focused on Kentucky when this gets going. I'm just trying to get the whole program up and running. And Tommy has been unbelievable, Tommy Amaker, to really say, hey, let's get this going and do it right.
What has been the reaction from other coaches? You mentioned Coach Saban. I'm sure he was all in right away.
Yeah, and they're white coaches, they're black coaches, they're female coaches. And I think everybody knows, wow, this is a pretty good idea based on how do you say no? Many times, here's what will happen, and this is a great thing that's said. Why don't you have more employees of color? Jordan, it'll come back. We don't have applicants. We don't have, they're not, well, here they are now. So that's out. Okay, here are candidates. Now they have to prove themselves, but here are candidates. If you're saying there's not enough black head coaches in football and basketball, well, there's not enough black ADs to hire black. And you're going to hire who you're comfortable with. You're going to hire someone that you look at and say, sometimes they look like me. They're what I want here. And that's why I said diversity in athletic departments, diversity as athletic directors. Even how about this? Presidents of universities. What's the diversity look like when you talk all these major institutions? And so, we're saying we can't solve all the problems of the world, but in our area, in athletics, if you said to me, where's your sphere of influence? I say, it's what I'm doing. That's where I can have influence. There are other issues going on. I don't have any influence. I could be mad. I don't agree with this. This is wrong. But my thing is action. Tell me what you're going to do. One, we got our kids to vote. So I got to work with 12 of my players. They've all registered to vote. They're all getting their ballots now, absentee ballots. So that's one action. And I'm trying to tell my team the same thing. What action are you going to take? Being mad, making a statement, doing a video, great. All right. Beyond that becomes, how do you make a difference? Even if it's with one person, how do you make a difference?
How do you see the program scaling? You said there's 500 applicants for 20 spots. How does it continue?
I think what'll happen, well, we have, like I said, 80 coaches, which would mean probably 100 jobs, which tell you that a majority of the jobs, they're not online yet, even though some of them have been, the money is in the account to do.
Right.
The school may be saying, we're going to wait till January. This pandemic has slowed everything down. Now, let me say this, Jordan. I knew people would say, let's wait a year. And I said, no way, no way. We have momentum and enthusiasm now. And if we wait, you and I know it can change. And all of a sudden this goes away, and the opportunity, the excitement that the coaches are having would go away. Now you may say, why only 20? Why not start small and then we'll scale? So I was hoping it would be anywhere from 20 to 30, and it's going to fall right in that. And now next year, my guess would be 80. But I got calls from Division III coaches and administrators saying, we have more of a problem down here. How do we get involved? We don't have the money to just give that position. So my thing to them was, all right, so can you give housing and food? Can you give?
What'd they say?
They say we can do it. Can you give a few $1,000s and we'll go get businesses to then invest in those programs? So you may have 100 or 200 young people, young leaders, future leaders going there over the next 2 years. I told Division II and III, please let us get this up and running. We know you want to be involved. We're going to do everything we can to keep you involved. And then we did the HBCUs. Historically black colleges and universities always seem to be shortchanged in all this. So right now we got North Carolina Central, St. Augustine, and Kentucky State are involved in it, but we have probably 50 to 60 applicants from HBCUs that I hope are placed in this program. So, I've been talking to Greg Moore from the SIAC, who's the commissioner. I ran all this by him to say, what does this sound like? I want to make sure I'm not tone deaf to any of this. Is this a good idea? Does this get us involved? Does this give access and opportunity where it's been lacking? And he was great. So we're trying on all fronts to say, let's make this work. And my hope is that, and let me say one other thing, Jordan. We've asked all the coaches that are getting involved to commit to 4 years. Unless your contract's different, you'll be done in 2 years. You know what I'm saying? You're going to retire. That's fine. But we're saying we don't want this to be optics, that we're out here trying to do something. And so my hope is in 5 years, in 10 years, we can look back and their numbers, how many jobs, where are they? Is business involved?
Yeah.
What kind of impact is this having? Because I'm not a guy that just, I'm not going to waste my time. But I really believe you're going to find stars. You're going to have people that are driven and wired that just didn't have an opportunity. And all of a sudden you find out like, wow, this young man or young lady, they are talented. And so this is what it's about, to give them a chance to break through.
I'm curious, have you met any resistance at all yet from coaches or just anybody saying, I don't know why you're doing this?
Well, there will be some resistance. Some people will, like the whole thing, Cal's only doing this to help him recruit better.
Yeah,
I don't really need help recruiting.
You don't need help. You don't need help recruiting, Coach.
So I'm good. So if that's, and there may be some of that. There may be, I'm white, why, like Conzo Martin has been so active in this. Frank Martin has been so active in this. Tommy Amaker has been so active in this. So it's been black and white, but it was just someone had to do something to get it going. And
right.
I wasn't afraid to step out there. So, yeah, and there may be some ADs that push back right now. And here's why, Jordan. If they're laying off people or they're furloughing people,
right.
and now here comes people, well, what? Well, this is different. And I think that's why some of the schools want to wait. And I get it. I understand it. But I just knew we had to get 20 to 30 jobs posted. We had to get this underway. We have to show the impact it has, and then it's going to snowball.
It's really, it's so timely, and yet you think about how great, it's really a great idea. You think about it, and it's sad almost that it takes something like this to get to this point. I wonder for you, does it almost bring emotion for you to say like, guy, I want to do so much more now. Here's this opportunity we're going to create. Now,
mine is the other way, Jordan. Mine is the other way. Why didn't I do this 10 years ago?
Right.
I mean, I could have done it 10 years ago. Did I not have the courage? Was I afraid to be pillaged? Like I said, when I said white privilege, I got hit. Like, how could you say that? Why are you feeling guilty? I'm not feeling guilty. I know I worked hard for this, but this is a fact. In this case, why didn't I do it 10 years ago? Why wouldn't I say there's an issue here? I always wonder if I was a coach in the 60s in the South, would I have been able to say, I'm going to start 5 black players? Could I have done that? Would I have had the courage to do that? Would I have been able to put my career on the line? And would I hope so, but I don't know. So this got me more to think the other way than going forward. And I'm not worried, like, what else? I want to get this right. I just want this to work. I want this to inspire coaches, both black and white, men and women, to say, we have a chance to be involved in something that's bigger than all of us. This will not be about me personally. On my campus, it might be. This is going to be about all coaches, what they're doing on their campus to make a difference in diversity. And really, it's access and opportunity. That's the privilege, Jordan, you and I have. That's a disadvantage to many that look back and say, if I had a chance. Now I say, apply for these positions. And if it takes you a year to get one of them because more open up next year, then apply again. I mean, I say when I got started, I was a volunteer. That's how I got started. That's what I could get. I volunteered. I asked, what does a volunteer make? You know what a volunteer makes. I had to work at the training meal at Kansas. with the Sinclairs. I handed out peas and corn to the football and basketball
You
players.
were damn good at that, though.
I was. There was the best peas and corn man you'd ever see in your life. But, you know, you're fighting, you know it. But even that, would I have had that opportunity? No, I don't believe so.
You mentioned that you feel like, you know, would you have been able to be this strong, for example, let's say in the civil rights area? Let's say you're Mr. Haskins at Texas Western, and you're going up against Kentucky and Adolph Rupp, ironically. Do you ever think about, you just mentioned it, do you ever think about being in his shoes and what you might have done?
You know, it's funny. When you're in basketball, even back then, you don't think black and white. I'm just telling you, that's the greatest thing about our sport.
Yeah.
I was asked when I was at UMass one time, how many white players do you have on your team? And I go, well, I've never been asked that. Let me think. Then I said, what if a kid has a white mother and a black father? Should he be half? I mean, tell me how we do this. Like, I never thought about it. C.M. Newton was at Alabama. He started 5 black players. They put a cross in his front yard and burned it. And he and I had been close friends. He passed away a couple of years ago. And I said to him, what made you do that? What gave you the courage to say, I'm going to do this because it's right? He said, Cal, I was trying to win. I was trying to win. And I was talking to Tim Floyd not 3 days ago. And Coach Haskins' name came up. And he said the same thing. I wasn't thinking white and black. I was trying to survive. I was trying to win games. And the best way we could win was play my best players who happened to be black. So basketball seems to transcend all that. You're watching the NBA right now in the bubble. Do you think Eric Spoelstra's playing Bam because he's black and Tyler Hero because he's white? He's trying to win a championship. And you could be brown, green, whatever. If you're going to help us win, you're playing. And you know what else? Players respect other really good players.
I was just going to say, players know better than anybody
who can play. And if you're a fraud, black or white, brown, you're out. You're a fraud.
Same with the coaches. Same with the coaches.
Thing. Same thing.
I mean, players to coaches. Players know if a coach is a fraud in 5 minutes.
Oh, I mean, the one thing, Jordan, with NBA players, literally geniuses at basketball. So when you talk to them, if you don't know what you're talking about, you can't help them improve.
That's it.
They got no time for you. And it is not like someone would say, how did you recruit so many players of color? I mean, I had the first Latin backcourt now, too. Edgar Padilla, Carmelo Travieso, the first Latin backcourt that went to the final. Yeah, we went to the Final Four. I had Dominican players, Rigoberto Nunes, obviously Carl Towns, but you just go in and honest and say, look, I'm going to be here trying to help your son, and I'm not embellishing, over-promising. I'm not trying. And so the most important thing is when they leave me, they say, you did what you said. I didn't promise you this starting, shots, minutes, everything through you. I'm going to make you a point guard, even though you're a center. No. I mean, you need to learn to play on and off the ball. For Denver to win tonight, Jordan, please listen to this. Jamal's got to be off the ball 30% of the time, because when he's on the ball, they're taking him away.
Yeah.
So now he's got to be on the baseline. Guess what? He's learned that with me. He can play down there. And now he becomes more of a one-on-one player than just a passer. Because if he takes 10 shots tonight, they're not winning. They will not win. So he's got to – how do I get 20, 22 shots up? And so you know, but I mean, I want him to leave saying he did what he said. Now, they may not all be happy with me. I still, Devin Booker texted me on.
He's told me. Go ahead. I know what
on his senior night. On his senior night, which would have been 4 years. He left after a year. Now, Devin don't want to accept that when he was at Moss Point, Mississippi High School, he wasn't projected to be a draft pick after a year. He came in and took what he wanted. But I had a whole team returning, so he didn't start.
What did he say in the text?
So the text said 4 years later, after he left me, would I have started tonight? You know, on his senior night. But let me just say this.
Oh, that's great.
Again, if you know, he got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Like he's got something to prove. He played that way for us. What we got him to do is defend, share the ball. No, he's not. You're going to play with other great players. But look, if I'm going to have a guy for 8 months and I'm trying to coach 9 guys to be able to be pros, like Bam, I saw Bam do some of that point forward stuff in high school. I had him for 8 months. We had to get him to guard, rebound with 2 hands, be able to play around the basket, be able to play and get in great shape. Then you couldn't say, and we're going to experiment with you playing point forward. Like my thing, if you rebounded, dribbled up. But we don't have time because the other thing, we got to win. We got to win so everybody benefits. With Devin, seeing him in pick and roll, and even Tyler Hero, I never really put those guys in pick and roll. You know why? We didn't have time to experiment with everything. And I had other players who were better than at pick and roll than they were at that stage. Yeah. But now I'm up there, I laugh. I see Bam as 10 assists. I see, Devin in a pick and roll being one of the better pick and roll players in the NBA. Yeah. But let me give you this. Derrick Rose, I never put him in a pick and roll. You never put him in a pick and roll. All right. When you put Derrick Rose in a pick and roll when I had him, they trapped him. So what did he have to do? Pass. I didn't want him to pass, Jordan. I wanted him to score. So I had to put him away, cut him through, put him in ISOs. I never ran anybody to him.
Then he's just going to get trapped. Yeah.
And so now he goes to the NBA. I had to have him teach me about pick and roll. Give me some stuff. So we've done more of it than we've done, but it's, it's interesting how you go through the process of trying to prepare these kids.
Sorry, just what? Yeah, that's so funny that Devin texted you that. What I have started as an all-NBA player, basically saying, Coach, you got me in the lineup tonight. I think that is fantastic.
How about he gets 70 in an NBA game and it didn't start for us? Now, he was in every game when it mattered.
Yeah.
His dad, Melvin, I hate to tell him, I'm going to age myself. He played for me in the Buckler Challenge. I took a team over to Europe when I was younger, and he played for me. When we recruited his son, he said, Cal, what if he has to stay 2 or 3 years? I said, Melvin, I got this. Not every kid leaves after a year. Last year it was PJ Washington stayed 2, and look what happened for him. So he said, okay, but if he stays 3, I said, I got this. So after 1 month of being on campus, I called Melvin. I said, Book, he's gone now. I got NBA people saying they like him better than anybody else on my team. And we got Carl Towns. We got Willie Cauley-Stein. We had Trey Lyles. We had, the twins.
Yeah, Willie.
Dakari Johnson. Dakari Johnson, Willie Cauley-Stein. We had the twins, Alex Porthras. I mean, and now all of a sudden they're walking in and saying, we like him better than everybody. And I said to Book, he's gone. He'll be gone. What? I said, oh, yeah. Yeah. And he ends up, he was 17 years old. Like right now, he's an all-star. Jordan, he's 23.
Yeah.
Anthony's 28. Jamal's 23. Bam. Tyler Hero's, I think he can drink. No, he can't drink yet. He's only 20.
Can't drink. I've spent enough time with him to know, and he was good. Didn't drink, but he's locked in.
Yeah. So, they're young, and how about this? They haven't figured out who they are as a person They're still growing. They're 23, 20. Think about yourself when you're that age. And now they're trying. Someone said about Jamal as a player, you know, I said, Jamal's still trying to figure out who he is. And now he's pretty good doing it, but he is going to get better and better like all these guys.